Hi there, I'm Stuart Howie from Flame Tree Media. We can and should plan for a crisis, but surely the greatest teacher is experience. Every sector has those ticking time bombs that could go off at any time. What are those ones in your organisations that you would be vulnerable to? The ones that would really shake you to your core? Few institutions have gone through as much as St Pat's College in Ballarat in Western Victoria in that regard. They've been at the epicentre of sexual abuse by clergy and in the eye of the Royal Commission. Their comms director is a mate of mine, Paul Nolan. He's been helping nurse the college through that crisis. When I last caught up with him, I asked him about what advice he would have for others. What are the lessons that the college has learned? This is what he had to say, and it represents a masterclass in crisis communications.
Okay, so our challenges started a long time ago, really, in the mid-70s, when St Patrick's College, along with a lot of Ballarat, was basically the centre of a pedophile ring. And coming into 2015, the Royal Commission into institutional responses to child sexual abuse was about to start, and we knew that we were in the gun for the next 2 to 3 years, that we'd be front and centre with a lot of the evidence that was to come out. So we were presented with a fairly strong and immediate and unavoidable brand crisis, but it also provided a unique opportunity for us to turn that crisis into a path of hope and reconciliation and acknowledgement with some of the people who'd been most hurt by the school over the previous 4 decades. Is we just listened. We actually sat down and met regularly with our victims and survivors, with former students who had been hurt, with their families, with their children. We sat down and listened and met with them and tried to build a relationship of trust, and that took a long time, but we listened and we learned their language, we learned what they wanted, and we never said no to anything. We said that we were here to walk the path with them and that we'd do whatever we could to do that. And then once we had arrived at that conclusion that that's what we were going to do, we then harness the power of our community wherever we could to make sure we stuck true to that path and we didn't deviate. Look, we started our communications very early on in the process with our families and were upfront and honest with them. So before the Royal Commission started, we emailed all our parents and used social media to say that we were going to walk this journey, that we were acknowledging the hurt that had been done, and however long it took, that was the path we were going to go down. So we made sure all our current parents knew that before the Commission even started. And then when the Commission did start, we made sure that our headmaster was front and centre at all hearings, that he sat with the survivors at some of those hearings, that he walked in with them and not with necessarily the church figures. So we were walking the path figuratively and literally with them. And we made sure we were open and transparent with the respected media. We talked openly with major mastheads like The Age and international publications. We had the BBC visit, ABC. We were open and transparent. We just acknowledged that there had been hurt done in the past and made sure that we owned it from this point onwards. One of the key things that we learned was never to underestimate our students. Initially we tried to protect them, or at least make sure that they were fully understanding of the crisis, but then they wanted to be involved and they wanted to write their own letters and have their own say. And that actually opened a door between the school and the survivors for the first time through the voice and power of our students. That was our real key learning, never underestimate the power and the passion that they have. Look, other lessons that we learned is that if you stick towards your end goal and don't get distracted by the bumps along the road, handling a crisis can be much more manageable. If you keep your focus on, in our case, the hope and solidarity and process towards healing at the end, we didn't get distracted when the headlines came out one day or the next. We stuck the course. And the other thing that we learned is just to listen to those most affected by the crisis that you're in. They're the ones that can tell you the outcome that they want to see achieve. So don't tell them what you want to achieve, ask what they want to achieve and then ask them how they want it to be done.
You heard there Paul talking about the value of planning. For more about strategic communications, go to DIYnewsroom.com. There you'll learn more about my new book, The DIY Newsroom. Finally, there's method to the madness of communicating today. diynewsroom.com.